Welcome into the week one preview show here at the DenCo Gridiron. We're excited to bring you guys this. It's actually football season now, Steven.
Man, there's only one thing in the world that can make this heat a little less insufferable. It's Texas high school football. And we're back, baby.
Yep.
We're back.
I am so excited. It is finally back.
Mm-hmm. Many months. How many months has it been? 8 months since state. Now I know there's going to be some Texas high school football heads out there, like the sickos of Matt Stepp and Mike Roach and all them who go to 7-on-7 state and everything like that, and Swelter over there in College Station. But for me and you, it's been 8 months, 8 agonizing months without Texas high school football. Of course, we've had like the recruiting cycle that churns all off season, coaching changes and everything like that. But there's nothing like the crack of the pads of two different colored teams going at each other. Just gotta love it.
It's the best. I mean, you know, and not to just mention high school football, but I think there's some college games. Is it
there are some college football.
Is it all college football, or is it just
just some?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we got some college football, and then NFL's kicking off. I know I had a fantasy draft with my buddies this week, so I mean, football is.
You and ready to your go. Depraved scoring needs.
It's the best. I know. We texted about it in our group chat, but I was reminiscing about the Kyler Murray OU West Virginia game from years ago on a Thursday night up in West Virginia, where they hit the over. I think it was in the second quarter.
Yeah,
it might have been the first. I don't know.
No, I think it was the second quarter as well. I was just like you and your degenerate fantasy scoring.
Oh God, it's the best.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. How you been?
It's been a week. This week could not have gone any quicker. Like I woke up this morning, thought I was gonna have a quasi easy morning, and it's just been busy after busy. And I got here before this show started, 4 minutes before it started. So yeah, that shows you the kind of day I've been having.
Oh God, yeah, busy. And I guess real quick, it's time for us to get into the news and notes, because there's actually a little bit of news that we should probably hit on, which is the heat is pushing everything back. So if you are a parent or a fan of a team, or you want to watch a game on any kind of live broadcast, go double check a team's Twitter, text somebody, just check in, because teams, they're getting moved back anywhere from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. It doesn't matter if it's a Thursday or a Friday game. Everything's kind of getting moved around.
Yeah. So unless you're a game at the Star or out of town, such as like Ryan down in Belton, your games are not pushed back. Or did Brian get pushed back? They might have. I
thought they had.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I just hadn't updated it. But yeah, I emailed coaches and athletic directors over the weekend. Hey, we've seen a couple of pushbacks on times. What's the status of your game? And the most I got was we were talking. We haven't decided anything. Games are still at their same time, or no response. Well, once one happened on Monday, and then another one happened on Monday, it was just the floodgates that had opened, so to speak, because we can't get any floods here. But that's kind of what I tweeted out, is like, these coaches are waking up, the ADs are waking up, talking with one another, and that there was just going to be a systematic just domino. And then I think it really started when like the ISDs wholesale just decided to go ahead and push back everybody. Like Louisville was one of the bigger ones that announced all the home games were going to be pushed back 30 minutes. Carrollton, Farmers Branch, Colleyville, Grapevine, all them. And then it just became everybody pretty much pushed it back, which makes me wonder at what point because summers aren't going to get any cooler from what everybody's saying. At what point do we just start making games at 8 o'clock again? Because that used to be the thing. I've had a number of people reach out and say, yeah, the games used to start at 8 o'clock. I don't know why they moved them to 8. Or they would start at 7:30 at the earliest. So it's probably going to be more of the norm. I think we're going to see in maybe like 10 years a proliferation of more of like the Star in Frisco being a thing that's being built. I know Melissa has their brand new open air stadium that they're opening this week against Argyle, and we'll talk about that one later. But at what point are we going to have to get to the indoor stadiums for anybody to feel comfortable? I mean, soccer, they have to deal with the extreme colds now, football, the extreme heats at the beginning of the season, track and field, they start in the heat of the season. So you've got all the practice indoor facilities. Why not just make it a little bit bigger, put a track around it and put some stands and call it a day?
I mean, it wouldn't shock me to see somebody do it, because it feels like there's definitely some districts that have the money to do it. And
yeah,
it wouldn't shock
for
me
sure
if, like we said before, like the South Lakes or the Allens and some of these
places. Yeah, I was going to say, if there's one school district I could see being on the forefront, because they were the forefront of having I think in Texas, their own single use stadium for football, was Allen, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I
feel like
I think so, because I think South Lake shares theirs with somebody else, if I'm not
mistaken.
No,
so South Lake has their own, but they have a track around their field. Right, so okay. I mean, like just a football only, with of course soccer as well, but just a field, no track or anything like that. I think Allen was the first one. I could easily see them being the first school district to say, you know what, dome it and then give it to the next person. So.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me, because I know it's always been in my lifetime. Everyone was sharing a stadium with other. There's 4 schools in a district, but Allen has always been
their own. Yeah.
It's always been their own. It's one high school, and it's kind of just what it's been. So it would be interesting to see that, and teams pushing it back. And then I know, as I was kind of skimming through my notes here, getting ready for the show and stuff, the first thing that stuck out to me when I was on the Dallas Morning News looking for some statistics and stuff, they were one of the first article was an article about at what point do we consider maybe not playing games in August, right? Because
that was another idea
that's very which I think is interesting, and I know it would stink for a lot of teams and be frustrating, but I think teams might consider that at some point, because you don't want to just jump into district. This kind of leads into our next little topic here about non-district games. You want to play some non-district games. You want to get ready, because you don't get to, if you're in a district where most of those teams are going to get bounced in the first round, that doesn't really prep you for those really tough teams that you're going to have to beat in order to make that deep playoff run. You think about Guyer having to play teams like DeSoto, Byron Nelson. If they were in a weaker district, you don't get really prepped for it. Argyle had a pretty easy run most of their through their district, even though they played in a pretty tough district. You want to get ready for that kind of thing. And we talked about Sock last week, playing a bunch of monsters, and they're doing it again this year.
Yep.
But so non-district has its purpose. It gets guys ready. But at what point do teams maybe consider just jumping into non-district or into district play in September?
Yeah, and this is another theory I posed. So when Guyer first announced that they were pushing their games back, I said this is going to be a thing that happens moving forward. It's just the summers aren't going to get any cooler ever. Like last year was supposed to be the last cool summer, and by this time last year we were in the 90s, not 105 degrees a day. But the 3 options were pushing the start times back, which is going to be the more widely chosen, I think, short term. 2, doming football fields, just because at some point the turf can't even survive, the 110 degrees day in and day out. And then the other one is, I say you cut back on how many playoff teams there are by half. That automatically eliminates half of the postseason. So you're talking about 3-week postseason as opposed to a 6-week postseason. And then, you can then kind of work backwards and start 3 weeks later. So instead of the last weekend of August, you're starting mid-September, Yeah. I mean, then you can get your full complement of pre-district games and then roll into your district schedule. So nothing really changes outside of you just have a later start time and you have a shorter playoff. I'm fervently against having a 6-week playoff, because you put 6, if you go start to finish and you play all that's 6 extra games. That's 66% or 60% of your your schedule. You've already played 10. Now you're going to play 6 more to win state. I mean, that's a lot of football to ask to play and everything. I think it's too much for the high school level. I think 13 is a nice sweet spot. So
yeah, it's weird when you think about it. Because I like the idea that, if you get that 4th playoff spot, you are rewarded with getting to play a little extra. It's good for the bands and everyone that participates in all that stuff.
Yeah,
it is.
To me, it's diminished when like a team can win 1 game or go not have to win a game and still get into the playoffs because there's only a 4-team district.
Yeah, and so that's where it is a little diminished. It's like I'm glad for teams that get to do that. I'm happy for kids. It's the drawback to me is really big though, because I think about those guys that are going to go on to play college football at any level. It doesn't matter if it's FBS, Division 1, or any Division 3. It doesn't matter. And even guys who don't go on to play college football, it's like you're adding a lot of more physical, beating to them. If you're a kid that's on varsity for 2 years and you're a starter, and then your team, let's think about like a Westlake that went to state 2 years in a row, you're getting the tar beat out of you it's a 16 game schedule. If you make it to state 2 years in a row, and that's third, you're playing an NFL regular season, or what was an NFL regular season, as a 16-year-old, 17, 18-year-old kid. That's just not, like you pointed out, that just is,
to me,
it's not healthy.
Too much. It's too much. But that's just my opinion. I don't like rewarding mediocrity so much. And then as well as playing so many damn games. So, quick shout out to John over he's in Denver.
He's in Denver at a podcast convention.
Yeah, he's listening to 16 different podcasts happen at one time over the PA or something like that. Poor guy. That was a funny video he sent us. I'm Steven Peters, by the way, at I am Speeders on X. That's a weird phrase to say. I am on X, not to be confused with ecstasy. X, formerly known as Twitter. He's Lee Livingston. You can find us at DenCo Gridiron on all the platforms, DenCoGridiron.com. Also, if you want to contribute to the show or to our platform at any kind of way, you can email us at info@DenCoGridiron.com. We'll be happy to talk to you. And if you want to, help sponsor this little corner of the web and our cut rate internet show, please, we'll happily take a burger and $2. We'll share a burger. Lee and I will share a burger, and you can give us $2 and call it a day. So, all right, man. What's up next? Tell me.
Up next, we kind of already hit on the non-district stuff, so not too worried about that. So I think it's time we get into our week 1 breakdown. The slate of games this week, it is very much packed because almost every single team we cover is playing.
Pop quiz. Who's not playing? There's one team.
There's one team. It is correct. It is Denton Braswell, if I'm not mistaken.
That would be incorrect. It's Ponder. Ponder is off this week. Then they play 10 straight weeks. No, Braswell plays VR Eaton or Northwest Eaton for short. They're at Carico. You got the right colors. It's red. No, they're both red. So, and they're both cat logos. So I'll give you partial credit, but no, it's Ponder. Ponder is one of the 28 teams not playing this week. All 27 else are playing. And there's, as we mentioned, oh my goodness, frog in my throat. Sorry. Then we have one Denton County game as well. So.
And then real quick, shout out if you need to, DenCoGridiron.com. You can find the schedule right there on the website. Just all of the teams if you need help finding it. And then you can find the stadium locations and everything. Steven did a great job laying everything out if you need help finding all that info.
I'm not just a pretty face. I'm technically savvy as well. So DenCoGridiron.com/schedule. That's going to have all the Denton County games, Denton County teams listed, and then in each standings we have the ancillary games within that district. So if you go to like 4-6A, you'll see every team who is playing that week for that district listed below. So just to provide context, we're not just solely focused on what's happening in Denton County. We know what's happening around us and everything. Also makes my job a little bit easier when inputting standings and stats. So yeah, go for it, man.
Talk about it. So real quick. All right. Because we cover so many teams and we can't be everywhere all at once, the way these breakdowns are going to work, these weekly previews, we're just going to pick, a handful of games to kind of talk about. It could be anywhere from 1 to 7 or so games. Kind of just depends on the schedule. But for this week, we're going to be talking about 5 or 6 games and just kind of the games that we think are going to be fun to watch, games we think you should, as fans, be paying attention to, games that kind of excite us. Game number 1 on the slate is one that we're actually going to be at. It is Denton at Newman Smith on Thursday night.
Yeah, so that one got pushed back as well. They were a little staunch in there, and at least from the Carrollton Farmers branch, saying, "Oh, we're going to play at 7," and then like 4 hours later, it's like, "Okay, we're going to play at 7:30." Sorry, but yeah, no, that's going to be an interesting matchup. I think we kind of touched on it last week when we talked about what to expect out of some teams, and that's, where does Denton do? They've got their quarterback back who got injured in this game last year, but they don't have Coco Brown. Now, from what I understand, Billy Miller's pretty high on this team this year. He thinks that they could be better than last year. I don't know. I haven't been out to any practices, unfortunately. My schedule has been way busier than I expected, but I mean, Denton's favored by 20.5 points in this one, according to Massey ratings, and the over under for you degenerates is 61.5. And they're basically like, so the matchup predictor as well is like 84% to 16% in Denton's favor. So they should
higher than I thought it would be, actually, a little bit, because looking into Newman Smith, one thing that kind of stood out is they are bringing back some players at some key positions, like at quarterback, Pearson Rigaud. I hope I'm saying his name correct. 59% completion percentage, 1,300 yards passing, 14 TDs, didn't turn the ball over much, and he tacked on 560 rushing yards. So that's a pretty solid quarterback. And when I was reading into some stuff, I don't think he played all of the snaps at quarterback throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they've got DeMonte Green, who had 900 receiving yards last year. So this isn't a team that's bringing in, they've got some pretty talented teams, and I think they had 11 starters that's coming back, and Denton also bringing back some players where they have the advantage. I think that probably is helping them out is they're going to have the guys coming back in the O line and the D line. So, but I'm a little surprised at how heavy Denton is in terms of being a favorite.
I think that's more to say of like how well Denton progressed last year without any, what's the word I'm looking for? Without any really great quarterback play. I mean, they lost their quarterback, and then they had some serviceable guys who could get the ball there, here and there, but not with any regularity or consistency. And it all became just the Coco Brown show of just hand it to him, swing it out to him, get him in space, and give him a quick breather. We'll take the 2-yard loss on this play, and then we'll get him back out there. To his benefit, he got him a good scholarship to Sam Houston State, which is a pretty good FCS school. But to me, there's just a lot of concerns in terms of the skill positions. I think the offensive line for Denton is going to be good. They've got some a front seven that's going to be pretty impactful as well. And like I said, I think this game, even though it was a 1-point game last year, Newman Smith really faltered throughout the rest of the year, and Denton really improved. So I think that's why those metrics that are coming from Massey ratings and everything give the edge to Denton. But you never know.
It's week 1, so I think that's like kind of we've mentioned it before. We've mentioned it on our preseason show. If you didn't get the chance to watch it, definitely go check it out. I think it's up on our YouTube page, and you can find it on our website. But week 1, all these non-district games, you're finding out a lot about teams, because even if you're a team that's bringing back, let's say 15 guys, a lot of players, there's still new positions at places, and you never know what's going to happen. It's early in the year. You're learning a lot about these teams. And the biggest note I had for this is both these teams feel similar in the aspect of they're bringing back right around 11 players each, somewhere in that regard. And they're their strengths are the other team's weaknesses in some regard, which is, and both teams barely missed the playoffs. They were 1 spot shy in their own district. So I think you're going to see both of them really come out firing on all cylinders, because if they want to make the playoffs, they have to be able to play well in this kind of game, because you have to beat these kind of opponents to grab that 4th playoff spot.
Yeah. Just the only thing I think in terms of both teams missing out, and this is the last point I'll have about it, is I think that the district quality is a bit different in Denton's favor, having to deal with, you're talking about Frisco Independence was pretty good last year. Frisco Memorial is a team on the rise. Then there's Argyle and Lake Dallas, and Emerson. So the quality of play of teams, I think, are a little bit better for Denton's district than Newman Smith. Not to to disparage the other kids, but I think missing out by a game for Denton's sake is a little more impressive than Carrollton Newman Smith. Yeah, missing out on theirs. But as you said, they both have something to show to this year. They want to get to the playoffs. Jobs could be on the line for all we know. So you want to. It'll be a good game, I think, for sure, over in Stanridge.
Yeah, and so like kind of your point about the real quick before just to wrap up on this point on this game is Denton's district. I think is definitely deeper. I mean, even like the teams at the bottom of that district, they're decent team. Like they're scrappy teams. They're going to give people problems. If you take a night off, and that they're the kind of district where if you take a night off, anyone can beat you. And whereas Newman Smith's, they're going to be fine in terms of the teams behind them from last year. It's the team like WT White, when I was just skimming through, getting interested in it, that they're bringing back a decent amount of their players. So even though WT White isn't, historically a great team or anything, and they lost in the first round last year, it's, this is a program that's, getting to the playoffs is going to be a big deal for them. This is a coach's second year at Newman Smith. So it's a game where I'm just I'm always interested in seeing what these programs do with new head coaches, new players and things. And I'm excited to see what the heck is going to happen with Denton High, because I would love to see them in the playoffs, because it's been a while.
It has been a minute.
I want to see it really, really bad.
It has been a minute. I'd also like to see, at least for this game, Hayden Gunter, their all-world tackle, just maul.
Oh, I think
Newman Smith, D lineman. I rated him as our third best in the county, behind Michael Fasusi, in Louisville, and Max Anderson at Reedy. He's going to Stanford. He's going to be a stud there. Smart kid. He plays basketball as well. So I want him to have an impressive senior season, and it starts tomorrow.
All righty. All right. Kind of on to our next game. This is one that kind of caught my eye. I don't know. It's also a Thursday night game, if I'm not mistaken. You have to correct me if I'm wrong, but it's Wakeland at Grapevine. Last year, Grapevine won 49-28, which is Wakeland, though. They're bringing back almost every one of their star players. Yeah. Grapevine is on the opposite end of the spectrum. Lost most of their key players, with the exception of Darius Byrne, and I forget the other wideout. It's really just two receivers for them on offense. It's going to be, I think the thing that we're looking for from Wakeland here is basically just to completely flip the script here. Should be like 49-28 Wakeland.
Yeah. I think that this one's going to come down to Brennan Gunner. Oh, I've missed his name. Sorry for the Wakeland quarterback. Brennan Myers. I don't know where I got Gunner from. Him having a good game in this one. Grapevine lost a lot of players, like you said. They lost their coach, who's now at Marcus. So I think all signs point to Wakeland in this one. I mean, even Massey ratings. I'm gonna say them a lot in these shows because I reference them in the article previews or the previews for each game. Wakeland is an 18-point favorite on this one, 18.5-point favorite, with an 81% chance of winning to 19% chance of winning for Grapevine. So I'm high on Wakeland this year. I think they're going to challenge Reedy as well as Lone Star for that district crown. I think when I put together the 5A preview and our teams in the area, I think there's 10 of them. I had them going 8-2 for this year, just looking over their schedule. So there's no basis other than just, improvement and how many players they have coming back and what key positions. So I think this is going to be quite a good opening act for Wakeland in 2023.
Yeah, it feels like a perfect matchup for them. It's a great litmus test just to see how talented this team is exactly, because Grapevine's a good program. They've been a good program for the last few seasons. Obviously, they lost their head coach, which is always going to hurt. I just think they're going to come out. I think Wakeland has a chance to come out and really assert themselves as kind of a force to be reckoned with at the 6A level. Like, hey, like
5A.
5A. See, I don't know why I said 6A.
The 6-5A, but you're good.
That's where the 6 came from.
You're good.
I think they're just gonna. I think this is like that good opportunity to come out and say, hey, like we're a big dog.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to respect us here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they have 26 lettermen returning. You said 11 starters earlier. So it's, Brendan Myers, Donovan Woolen, who's a good two-way player over at the wide receiver and defensive back. Ashton Kahooch. I hope I said the name right. I apologize if I slaughtered it. Cooper Snyder. I mean, there's just a lot of talent coming back for that makes the transition from losing some players easier when you have this great group of skill guys who can kind of cover those holes until those guys are ready to take the next step in the season. So yeah, I see Wakeland just kind of pulling right through Grapevine on this one and starting the season off right.
Yep. All right, so that's it for that game. On to our next one, which is going to be Red Oak at the Colony, which I didn't expect. I know this might be a little bit surprising because Red Oak is a team that I think it was Ryan they knocked out real early in the playoffs last year, and they look like they could have a pretty dadgum good season this year again because they have I think it's a 4 or 5 star defensive lineman. They've got a couple other positions where they've got some FBS touted recruits. This is a solid team. The thing for the Colony is they were solid last year, and then they trailed off at the end of the year. Like it kind of just bounced around.
Yeah, inconsistent play on the offensive side, and then the defense just really struggled with any team that had a semblance of consistency on offense. You look at the game against Ryan, you look at the game against Red Oak last year. It was a back and forth contest. Red Oak took an early lead. Colony came back. Red Oak took another lead, and then they just kind of staved off the comeback attempt by the Colony. This was down in Red Oak. So, how's the play of Carson Cox going to be this year? Is he going to be a more competent passer? Are they going to continue to spread out the offense? Because a couple years prior, they were pretty much just an option team just based off of the talent. And that's been Rudy's, Coach Rangel's MO at the Colony in his tenure there. He kind of adapts the offense to meet his players, which is really great because a few years ago when they had like Christian Gonzalez, who's now in the NFL, a couple other receivers, they were just chucking the ball left and right, one of the better offenses in the round. Then they lost that talent and they became a running team, and then they slowly evolved last year into being a passing team. But it's really going to be on that defense and getting better on that side of the ball, so they can take that next step back to get back into the playoffs, because they were a game away, and really that game away might have been Denton Ryan. Denton Ryan was down last year. That was the opportunity to leapfrog them in a very tough district with Northwest, Burleson Centennial, Ryan, Alito. So these are going to be tough games week in and week out. So you're going to have to win the Saginaws. You're going to have to win the South Hills. And I'm missing one other one in their district, but got it. No, you're good. So it's
is it
Brewer? So who?
It's Brewer, Justin, Northwest, Azle.
Brewer, yeah, Brewer okay. Bears. Yep. So those 3 games are must wins, but you set that trend in week 1. So hopefully we see a market improvement on their defense so they can contend, and the offense continues to grow and get it, Ivan Bliznik involved in the slot out of the tight end, and get their younger wide receivers going, and their running game, being consistent as well. So, no, it'll be a good one. I think the Colony they're slightly underdogged here, either by Dave Campbell's Texas Football or Massey ratings, but I think it's going to be another good game. It was an 8-point loss last year on the road. Hopefully that press box, I went by the school today and I didn't even see it. Hopefully that press box is finished for Friday night. I doubt it is. But I'm sure they're going to be excited to unveil that new little feature of the stadium. And I bet the kids want to get back to the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of summarized everything about why I think this is one of those games we want to pay attention to. It's Red Oak's a good team, and the Colony's in a tough district, and you need to be able to compete against at the very least, compete against these teams, and you're going to have to beat one of them similar to Red Oak, team caliber, similar to Red Oak's caliber.
It was crazy though last year how Red Oak defeated Denton Ryan in the playoffs. I just remember now off the top of my head that it was like some 2-point or a sack that on the game-winning drive or whatever they were going for. It was a tough loss. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I did not remember how that game ended.
Yeah, no, it was something. It was something weird like that where they were.
I just remember keeping up with it and knowing they lost.
Yeah, they were. I think they were just trailing the entire time, and it just like a game losing sack or something. So, yeah, I want to see Carson Cox, Ivan Bliznick, Zion Brown, David Stevens, all these important Chase Glover, all these important guys, make an impact for the Colony and get back to the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. And so on to game number 4 for us, which is Geyer at Rockwall Heath. Should be I don't know, actually, now that I say that out loud, I don't really know what to think of this game other than it could get gross. It's
just the Rodney Webb Bowl is what it is.
Actually, correct.
It's going to be crazy offense. I think it may not be the cleanest offense though. Rockwall Heath, they were in the playoffs last year and they just got demolished by DeSoto. And I remember there was this one quote that Mike Roach said in one of the. It was a pretty dumb play when it happened, and he was like, "Yeah, if you have this quarterback, I forgot his name. If you have this quarterback running around for his life and just randomly throwing the ball, you're probably not going to succeed very well." And that's essentially what happened. Is just DeSoto destroy them. Then weeks later, they would go on to destroy Geyer with its immense talent on the field. Let alone, and I'm not saying they're not talented this year. I don't want to put that out there. They've got Palumi, they've got Eli, they've got Josiah still. Those are the 3 names that are huge for Geyer coming back. But losing the national Gatorade Player of the Year, and Jackson Arnold, Peyton Bowen's no longer there. It's
Ryan Yates, Landon Sides,
all these guys. I mean, it's just a star-studded cast that is gone, and kind of have an idea of what Rockwall Heath is because they return a lot of people, and then you don't really know what you have with Denton Geyer. So yeah, it'll be an interesting game. I think Geyer is really going to have to lean on its defense for this one, especially early on in the season in general. So yeah, if I could find a stream, I'll be tuned into this one as much as I can.
Yeah, definitely. You look at the numbers here. So I've got it pulled up. It's 3 starters returning on offense, 4 on defense. That is not much. And obviously the starters that are returning, like you pointed out, they are not just your average starter in high school football. They are fantastic players who are being recruited by Power 5 schools. The problem is you lost starters at such important positions. The good thing for Geyer, it feels like their offensive line should be improved. Defense line could be a little bit better. Those places where they lost in that DeSoto game and were getting beat up by teams like that it's just you lost a lot of talent, like you were pointing out. So this game's going to tell us a lot, I think, about the Wildcats. And Rockwall Heath last year, they kind of got smoked by Geyer. It was not a great game. And Rockwall Heath's bringing back a decent amount of players. I think it's 14 total, 12 total starters. It's,
Yeah, and I'm honestly kind of surprised at the numbers for what Massey says. Again, I don't know how they're basing these off of. It has to be just from last year, but they have Geyer as like a 42-14 predicted score winner, a 27.5 point favorite. I don't think it's going to be anything close to that, just because I don't really know what we're going to expect out of McLaughlin at quarterback.
And you know what? It could very well be 42-14 Geyer could very well happen. I have no idea. This is where week 1 becomes like a total just
crapshoot.
Yeah, crapshoot. I was trying to find the word.
You're good. No, I mean, even DCTF has them as 21 point favorite. So they're expecting a big win. You're there. I don't see a huge win. I'll be happy to eat crow if Geyer wins by 21 or more. But I could easily see this being a situation where it's like Denton Ryan. There's going to be a lot of good pieces, but maybe those pieces are a little bit greater than the sum of the parts this year. And then you lose unexpectedly to a team that you should easily beat, like New Braunfels last year. So
yeah, and the good thing for Geyer is even if non-district starts, if you're a Geyer fan or something, and non-district, it feels bad. It's like, oh no, this is not going the way we want it to. You have the benefit that you're going to roll into district and start figuring things out, because obviously District 5, 6A, you're playing a lot of really good teams, but you get to figure all this stuff out now during non-district, during the scrimmages. You've had all of the summer, you didn't have a bunch of turnover with the coaching staff, everything outside of, it's just the normal, you graduated players, you're going through the same thing that every other high school goes through. So I don't expect Geyer to make this big, deep run all the way to the state semis again. I would love to see it, considering I went to Geyer, so I am a little biased there.
Yeah.
But, they're just going through the same thing that every high school goes through at some point.
It's the attrition. And, when we get to district calendar on 9/15, you know what it'll be?
No, I don't.
Heim time, baby. Read Heim time. No, they're going to be in a tough district. Prosper, I think, is probably going to win the district, to be honest.
That team is
Little L, McKinney, Boyd, Braswell, Allen. I mean, McKinney might also win it as well. They're highly regarded. So it's going to be interesting. I was a little bit shocked to see where Geyer was ranked the preseason for the AP poll at number 9. But again, that's just history. That's a history bias going in there, and you don't know what you don't know until we snap week 1. Aubrey isn't ranked, and they could end up being the number 1 team in 4A.
That shocks me.
Yeah, so you don't know. I mean, it's a couple people putting this together, going off of numbers and hoping for the best. I mean, there's thousands of schools, and it's impossible to have the exact right ranking.
Yeah, there's more schools. I think there's like more schools. Yeah, we got more schools than college football FBS.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah. So, appreciate it. It's fun looking at rankings, but rankings at the end of the day don't hand out championships.
Yeah.
All right. On to game number 5, a game that I think is going to be awesome. If you're a Taps fan, this is a game I think that is must watch, must tune in, keep up with it however you can. Prestonwood at Liberty Christian.
Yep.
I mean, whoo, this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have the state finalists in Prestonwood in Division 1, and then you had the resurgence of Liberty Christian last year. And we talked about this last week a little bit too. How do you improve upon that? You're a now known commodity in the area. Nobody's going to take you as a surprise. The defense is going to be good again. They lost a few players from last year, especially Jacob Vaughn, who was their stud quarterback. But you've got Michael Stump, you've got Brady Janusic over on the outside. Heaven forbid I'm forgetting the running back off the top of my head, but he's back as well. So this could be a fireworks type show, because both teams expect deep runs this year. And I'm also interested to see Kellen Tasby at the Taps level. He went from the highest level of UIL now down to the highest level of Taps. I say down, but I mean, the highest level of Taps is almost equates to 5AD2, I think, is what the equation, how they equal out to be. So we'll see how he performs. I think he'll be great at Prestonwood. They have another transfer in the running back, and Takashi Shaw, and then that defense is going to be pretty impressive too. So this could either be one of two things. It could be a low scoring game, or it could be a high scoring game. And I'm fine with either.
I think this is a game that it just has fireworks written on it. It just feels like it. I don't know. It just feels like it's meant for it. The atmosphere, because Liberty Christian, great home atmosphere. It's the home opener. Brady Janusic is a beast. He does everything. Kind of reminds it's Debo Samuel-esque, where he's going to primarily be a receiver and such, but they'll hand the ball off to him. They'll have him do everything, bringing him back. Quentin Brown was a junior last year. I think he's a senior this year. Another receiver that's coming back, that 31 receptions last year, 316 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's a very good player. That's like their third option out there. And so Cole Welliver who's the other quarterback? Hogan Nelson, whoever.
Hogan Nelson.
I think it's Cole Welliver that's going to be getting the starting nod. Yep. Whoever it is, they have got plenty of options to throw to.
I wouldn't be surprised if they went dual quarterback because they're both two different type of quarterbacks. You know, we saw this with Argyle last year. To me, they were kind of the same. They could both run a little bit. Robinson was the better runner of the two. No, was it Gailey?
Robinson was the better of the runner of the
That's
two,
right.
and then
But they were kind of equal passers in my estimation, just in my non-scouting eyes. But Hogan Nelson is a runner, and he's gotten better from what I've seen in summer workout videos. He's gotten better as a passer, especially on the run. And then Cole Welliver is that prototypical tall pocket passer. Mm-hmm. He can run when he needs to, but he wants to stand tall in the pocket and deliver the throws. Again, it's going to be consistency that is going to plague him if he hasn't gotten that down. Well, we saw it last year. I saw it a few times. Marcus against Hebron, he struggled in that game. Then Marcus against Geyer in the playoffs, he really struggled in that game. So hopefully his confidence is up. But we'll see how this one goes. The last 2 times these two teams have played, the average margin of victory has been an average of like 20 points. So Liberty won 28-7 last year, and 2021 Preston won 24-6, both on their home field. So we'll see how it goes this year with Liberty at home. So
going to be again, just to reiterate, I know it's repetitive, but if you're a Taps fan, definitely just tune in for that game. It is
because you're seeing the best.
Some of the best teams. 2 best teams in Taps. I mean, I think they're amazing. All right, so any other games you were looking forward to before we kind of get into our last matchup?
The only other one that I kind of identified, and because I'm writing a preview of the top 5 games in the area, which probably should mimic what we're talking about on the show, but I'm a rebel. Is Independence and Panther Creek. Now, Independence finished 8-3 last year, made the playoffs, got bounced in the first round. And then they destroyed Panther Creek last year. Panther Creek finished 3-8, made the playoffs in their first year as a varsity team. First Frisco ISD in its first year to make the playoffs too. Little fun tidbit when you're at the bar and you're trying to pick up that person of your interest. Say, hey, you know what Frisco ISD team? No. But anyway, they finished 3-8, got bounced in the playoffs. Independence is lost, and I've never seen a staggering number like this in any DCTF magazine that I can recall. 46 lettermen from last year. 46. Panther Creek, on the other hand, is returning all 40, plus whoever they have in the lower classes that they are going to bring up. That is the exact example of night and day difference. Like, you're going to have a highly experienced team that struggled last year for the most part, and then a very inexperienced team that saw success from its varsity. And how those two are going to mesh and meet on the field on Friday is going to be very, very interesting. I think that's the game at the Star that didn't get pushed back. But yeah, if we weren't going to either Melissa and Argyle, which we're about to talk about, or Liberty and Prestonwood weren't on the schedule, I would want to see this one just because of the novelty of a brand new team versus a second-year team that has everybody back. Because to me, that just feels like a big brother bully type situation.
Yeah, I know. It's just, that is the fact that that's happening. I'm sure it's happened. Like,
I'm sure it has. I just remember.
That's so weird.
Like, I don't think there's ever been like a 40-40 split that though. It's like it's so 40 plus losing and then 40 coming back again, because nobody was a senior for Panther Creek last year. Because they're a 2-year school. This is their 3rd year in existence, I think, and their first year was on varsity last year. So nobody was a senior yet, but they returned everybody. So that's just fun because it's a nice little story. But we go up against a team that's lost 46 lettermen in 1 year. I've never seen a -40 and a +40 split like that. So, anywho, that's the only other one I had. What about you?
I don't think there was really another game off the top of my head that I was like, oh man, this is something I'm super gung ho about. I think Prestonwood Liberty Christian was just kind of the one that I was like, oh man, yeah, that's
for sure.
Outside of, I think this last one, so which is Any other?
Yeah, no. The only other mention I'll make is just the teams with new coaches. You have the Sangers. You're gonna have
Pilot Point was
Pilot
one.
Point. Frisco Legacy is one that has a Marcus. All these schools that have new coaches are going to be interesting to see how well they fare. So definitely starting tomorrow night and of course on Friday night, digging through box scores and kind of checking to see how things go. So yeah, that's it. But I'll let you introduce the game of the week.
All right,
as you pull up your fancy
our little graphic. This took years to make. I'm just kidding.
Years in the making. So many
folks.
Years in the making. We've had it since 2024.
Our game of the week, as you can see, Argyle at Melissa. I don't think this should really surprise anybody. We teased it just a little bit. I don't think there's a whole lot to say. If you tune in for high school football, you know what this kind of matchup is. Argyle and Melissa were in the same district for a little while, had some great games there. Melissa ending the Argyle home winning streak at one point.
Yeah.
This is a game that anybody...
There was a district winning streak too.
It was the district winning streak. Also,
we hadn't seen Argyle lose ever until except for the playoffs. It was like a regular season winning streak, a district win streak, a home win streak. No, it wasn't home. It was at Melissa. That 21-0 shutout. Is that what you're talking about?
I think so. I think it was at home too.
No, it was at Melissa.
Oh, it was at Melissa.
Because they've traded back and forth. Because last year, if you remember, Melissa got out to an 18-0 lead over Argyle in the first quarter or something like that. And then Argyle came back and won.
Okay. I thought it was
37-18
for some reason.
But yeah, no, it's it's the game of the it's not the game because I honestly would say Duncanville and Dallas South Oak Cliff is probably the game of the week in the area. But this has to be a close second with number 1 Melissa and number 3 Argyle. Man, it's gonna be electric. Plus, you got this new stadium.
Oh yeah, brand new stadium. I get the feeling that it is going to be packed. Argyle travels very well. Melissa is going to be it just feels like they're going to. I've never been to a Melissa game. I get the feeling with a brand new stadium and a lot of returning starters. It's just going to be a lot of juice in the air.
A lot of nervous.
Like it's just going to be a packed stadium. Kind of reminds me, my senior year was when Allen had their new stadium.
Oh, really?
Oh my God! When we went to the home opener because Geyer was the home opener.
Oh man,
they broke into the stadium. It was packed, and you could not find us. It was hard to find a seat. It was. I
wonder because like Melissa, I think their student enrollment is like 1,300 people.
Yeah, so I don't expect the stadium. I don't know. I haven't seen the stadium.
15,000, I think, or 10,000. The 10,000 seat stadium. That's a lot.
That's a lot for Melissa.
But I mean, that's just because they're trying to get ahead of the projected growth and everything like that. Which makes sense. That's smart planning. And if the people vote to approve the stadium, let them have it. That's their thing that they've settled on. Like unlike Argyle, they're now having to play catch up. Because they've grown so quickly and moved up in ranking in their classification so quickly that now they have to scramble to get a stadium built and everything. I think they broke ground on it earlier this year. So that'll be ready, 2025, 2024, maybe?
Who knows? They might be 6A by then, but Argyle's grown so quick. Yeah. All right, so now we can kind of, I guess, time to kind of break it down a little bit. I don't know how much we need to break it down, but Melissa's returning. We've said it. They're returning a bunch of guys. It is every one of their talented dudes is coming back. They running back. I forget his. Oh gosh, I'm going to butcher the last name. So, 1,200 yards rushing is what I remember off the top of my head. I don't want to butcher someone's name when I know I'm not going to pronounce it correctly. Quarterback coming back. They have I think it was almost every single offensive lineman is back. They've got 2 guys I know for a fact that it's between 290 and 315 pounds up front, which is going to be tough because Argyle lost most of their defensive linemen. Ryan Van Poppel gone. So that's going to be a tough one, but it's a Todd Rogers coach team. They play such clean and well executed defense that it's very rare you see a mistake from a Todd Rogers coach team. So it's going to be
Yeah, I think you highlighted it or touched on it just a good little bit. Is the interest the interesting point of Melissa's defense, which is returning a lot of players, including Nigel Smith, who is all world over there in Melissa. He's a wrecking ball. He is going to be a very tough guard for anybody. And how that Argyle offensive line holds up against him. And as well as just the rest of the Melissa defense. Argyle is returning 10 starters. Melissa has 15 coming back. So they're nearly a complete team that went pretty far last year and is expected to make a deep run this year. And I would not be surprised if they are one of the top 2 teams to finish in 5A D2 along with Sock or along with Argyle. So we're gonna get a up front and close encounter of how well these teams are and where they are in their progression from off-season workouts, summer workouts, preseason workouts, all that together leading up to tomorrow, Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a beast of a game, and I think those teams they want to. If you just know anything about football player, any athlete, when you have this kind of matchup, the coaches they're going to pump the players up. The players they don't really need it, and I think a lot of the coaches these are good coaches, they're good staffs, they're great programs. These players know what's at stake. It's bragging rights and showing, hey, we want to assert ourselves now and let you know if we meet up in the playoffs, how much better we are than you. You have to come to us later in the season. You kind of want this intimidation factor of letting everyone know how much better you are. Oh, shoot.
Yeah, it's been up for a hot minute. I figure I'd
let you know.
let you know on the slide. But no, it's again, and then Argyle, their quarterback play, it was last year was split. Now it's John Gailey's show. So, are they going to be ready? Can they get the ball out to Will Hobson? I'm messing up his name too. Where are we at? Will Hodson. Yeah, I had it right the first time. Will Krzyzak. These guys, and Hunter McFall, who is I pegged as the best returning tight end in the area. Can we get the ball out to these guys in space, let them do their work and have a competent running game so you don't have to rely too heavily on the deep ball from John Gailey or make him have to scramble around, because I don't think that's his strong suit. I think he wants to throw the ball, and hopefully he's improved in the offseason and they're able to tire out that Melissa defense and keep that Melissa offense off the field. I think that's going to be the biggest thing, is eating clock, not trying to go for the home run touchdown, on play one, because that used to be the staple when it was Rogers was the quarterback. Forget his first name, but I remember at state against Lindale, I told him, watch over the top touchdown right here, play one over the top touchdown against Lindale, and it was over from there. That was their MO. It was play action over the top. We got them. We're just gonna put our foot on their neck and keep it there. They can't really do that right now. So, and we'll see if they can try throughout the year. But I think they're going to have to play really smart against a very good and very well-rounded Melissa team on Friday.
Yeah, I think that's kind of sums up that matchup in particular. I don't really have any other notes on it. I think you said what I wanted to touch on with John Gailey, which is, make sure you're just getting the ball out to those guys in space, because guys like Will Krzyzak, Hunter McFall, they're talented. Let them do their work.
Yeah. And then hopefully you don't, have any injuries.
Oh yeah,
that befall the team, because I mean that's going to be for every team, is that one or two crucial injuries, even just one. I mean, look at Denton. They probably would have been a playoff team had they had their quarterback all season, along with Coco Brown. So it's going to be a fun matchup. Do you have any predictions on the game?
I think I do, and I don't like saying it, but I lean Melissa just a little bit. I think they're going to come. It's because it's a home opener and not just a normal home opener. It's breaking in a new stadium. I just kind of lean towards them a little bit. It's very slightly. I'm thinking, 28-25. It's not going to be a total barn burner, but it's going to be fairly high scoring. That's just where I lean right now. I think Argyle is a team where, by the end of the season, by the end of district play, they're going to have things figured out. And this game could easily be a rematch. And I see Argyle taking home a rematch. winning.
I like it. Yeah, I had Argyle, I think, as a 9-1 team through their regular season schedule. I think the one loss is Melissa as well. Again, not to take away from what Argyle is building or having to rebuild, but I think Melissa is just that a little bit more talented this year. I think this is the year that they volley the serve back into Argyle's court and hold serve. And you mentioned it, playing against Allen as a brand new stadium home opener. That place is, regardless if it's all the way packed, and they very well might be all the way packed, it's going to have a lot of attention, a lot of juice, a lot of energy. WFAA is going to be out there with Mike Leslie broadcasting. There's going to be scouts looking at Nigel Smith and all the Devon Owen for Argyle and all those players. So it's going to be electric. I imagine the sideline is going to be one of the most juiced sidelines that you'll probably be around when I get down there as well toward the end of the game. I'm sure I'll feel it too. Hopefully it's a good game. I really don't want to blow out. I don't want seesaw, like quick lead and then lose by double digits. I want it to be tooth and nail, and it's a blocked field goal attempt that's returned for a touchdown or something like that to end it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tight. I think we both want it, like you said, we want it to be tight. I like every game being tight. It's just more fun. Right. Sometimes it's fun to have a little blowout here and there, just because it's you want to see the teams that we cover do well.
Sure. We also want to get, like on Thursday night, you want it to be a blowout so you can get home in time, so you get rest up for the next night.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's at the end of the day, even if Argyle wins, I almost lean it's just going to be, I don't know how either of these teams beat the other back to back, like twice in a season. It's just that's the part where this non-district thing is so interesting to me. Because
you get potential.
Man, it is. This is a playoff matchup, and
it was like Argyle.
I wonder if they. I'm curious. Now I'm saying this out loud. I'm curious how much of the playbook either team's really going to open up if this game is tight. Are they like what? Because that if you're going to win state, you have to beat these teams. And let's say and neither of them are playing South Oak Cliff on their non-district schedule. And South Oak Cliff's going to have film from this game. So I think you don't want South Oak Cliff to have film from it.
To counter that, I think Duncanville and Sauk is going to be broadcast somehow. The coaches are going to exchange film.
You wouldn't want to give, you don't want to, I just don't think you want to, all right, in this situation, it's like, you're going to have film from the entire season. It's just, you don't want to give away, because both teams are going to win their district it just feels given that all three of these teams are going to win their district. I don't think you want to be, going out, balls to the wall to start the season and give away some of your, whatever might be like your best 2-point conversion play, because you're going to end up in a tight game in the playoffs against a really good team. You don't want to have given away that play, in week one.
Yeah, there is something to say for that. But at the same time, by the time you get to the playoffs and playing another team, you're going to have studied film from that first game and you might have exposed something, but the muscle memory and the repetition and the practicing that both teams are going to do on each side, it's going to make that just completely null and void, I think. I mean, that's fair. When I played basketball, we would play the same teams twice in district play. There was never the same type of sets or execution and everything like that, because they know that they know that and everything, all this crap that's happening. So it just becomes like, well, let's dumb it down actually and make it as easy as possible. So, it's, who knows? To me, I think Todd Rogers and that crew, they don't care. Yeah, they're just gonna let them hang and go for it. And so I'm excited. For another stadium to add to the list, a new stadium at that. I remember last year the energy at Carico was amazing.
Oh, it was amazing.
What was another one that was recently opened?
Oh, North Crowley for me. Got to go to that.
Oh, okay.
The playoff game.
Yeah, well, that's right. Did I went to that one? Did I go to that same one? No. Did they? I didn't think they played at North Crowley. I thought it was at MISD Stadium.
That was the Sauk Argyle game was in Crowley.
Okay, it was a different week that I went to North Crowley. Anywho, it's gonna be fun. But I do see Melissa slightly better. Just sorry, Argyle fans. I know I'm blocked at ArgyleGridiron or whatever their Twitter handle is, but sorry. Just they're just a little bit better. So yeah, I mean, any parting shots before we do? I just again want to mention at DenCo Gridridion. That's going to be on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Facebook, Instagram, Threads. We have a YouTube channel as well. You can follow me at I am Speeders on Twitter. That's the only one I'm on. This is our Space Cowboy, our DenCo Gridiron Space Cowboy. What's your handle?
It's at Space Cowboy 2049.
Okay.
Little nerd reference for those who understand it.
I'm not that much of a nerd. I'm a nerd in like logos and jerseys and aesthetics and stuff, but not Cowboy Bebop. So.
All right. I think that's going to do it for us, folks. We will see you on Saturday at 11 a.m.
Oh, yeah. Oh, programming. No, we're kind of just throwing this out here. Yeah, we're going to be back Saturday morning around 11.
Yeah, it's going to be at 11 a.m. on Saturdays. We're going to try to make these a live show so you can join us on Wednesdays at live. We'll let you guys know on Saturday what time these will be. But Saturdays, 11 a.m. When college football is starting to kick off, we will have these up. It's going to be a live show. We'll be recapping the week. You can join us here. We'll blast all the information out here on the social medias throughout the week. Let you guys know. All right. Take care, guys.
Appreciate it.